Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to go and take a look here at Bitcoin again once more, see kind of what's going on, and essentially understand best practice and big picture. And if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, just love teaching people how to trade, I really hope you can learn a thing or two here today. If you don't, that's okay. Try watching another video later and you'll slowly sink in. A lot of my subscribers take months to get on track, and it took me years to do that too. So I've been trading for over 15 years, and I have a website if you'd like to consider becoming a community member. CryptoCache.tech is the link in the description below. And the cool thing about that is I provide a trading academy that teaches you how to trade, trading community, as well as a signal group that basically just provides every single trade that I take. So I basically share my trades with you so you see how I structure them, and you could essentially one-click follow that if you'd like as well. Again, totally optional, but that is an option. So check it out in your own time. So here's what's going on with Bitcoin. It's struggle busing right now. Okay, we are essentially riding the short bus, and it's a very difficult thing here at this point. What I mean by difficult is just that obviously we've seen a pretty decent sell-off the last 3 days. Now that could be contributed to low amount of volume over the weekend. That's a very common characteristic. Last weekend we saw low volume and the price shot down. It basically just implies that we don't have a lot of buying pressure over the weekend. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And folks, even though this could be potentially a good price point at 40,000, they're not willing to want to invest. And we didn't see a lot of retail investment over the weekend. And essentially the price decreased here today because the whales took their profits, for lack of better terms, because the entire week was green when you think about it, right? Even though Monday was a terrible day, we still saw an increase in value closing on Friday compared to Monday. That being said, those profits were taken, the price is coming down again. So again, just something, something big picture stuff here, like I wouldn't say it's terrible or dire straits. It's pretty standard behavior for a Monday, especially with a low volume weekend. So I'm not super concerned, but once again, we are starting to lose this trend line. And when I say starting to lose, we haven't officially closed on the one-day candlestick below that yet. So there is still hope, of course. We do need to close somewhere in the range of 40,000 or higher though, and it's not looking very likely. So we could continue to say that this trend line is soon to be broken, but it hasn't yet. And once again, if that trend line is broken, our next fail-safe is 37,500, the next recent low. And what I mean by that is, as long as we don't break below this low here, in other words, 37,500, if we don't come below that, we aren't establishing lower lows yet. Yes, you could argue that we are making lower lows. That's true in the sense of the downtrend here since, for the last two weeks. But in the overall uptrend, as long as we don't break this most recent low, we're still making higher lows. And that is a positive trend that you want to continue to understand and wrap your head around. So again, just not giving you hopium at all. I want to always shoot you straight, but just know there's always two sides of the coin. And in this case here, the positive is that we haven't broken 37.5 yet. If we stay above that, I think we're still going to maintain and be in decent shape. Once again, we'll bridge that gap when we get there. So that is a silver lining, you could say. Some of the adverse impactful stuff here essentially is that RSI is still tapering off. It's slowly continuing down to the side, which isn't terrible, of course, because we could potentially get a bounce. But generally speaking, that is essentially something to understand. All right, RSI is not in great shape. Let's go ahead and take a look. And one last thing, of course, I didn't touch on this, but it's pretty obvious. Both moving averages are still trending above the price action, right around 48 for the 200, and of course, 42 for the 50. And that is essentially, again, another adverse scenario, basically just implying that 42,000 is the new resistance. I would say the new strong resistance if we were to come back up there. We're having trouble breaking 40,500, 41,600, and so on. So I wouldn't really say that that's even a target to shoot for just yet. It seems like it's really far away, even though it's only a couple of thousand, a small percent. That being said, let's take a look at some smaller time frames here, and we can see again, and just to acknowledge, we are making lower lows on the smaller time frames, or the midterm here essentially. And that does translate eventually to lower lows on the larger time frame. So obviously this is disadvantageous for the moment, but I wouldn't say it's a cause for ultimate concern based on the natural ways in which we saw that correction occur yesterday. Low volume, bears are going to take advantage of that. That's just the way there is. No buying pressure, why not sell and get the price lower so you can invest at a lower price point? That's exactly what they're doing. They're selling high and buying low. And those who can control the market are doing that right now because no one else is really investing. At least it kind of feels like there's not a lot of alternative investments, so to speak. It's mostly just the whales kind of playing their games on Fridays and Mondays. So again, something to kind of think about. 4-hour time frame here. Let's go ahead and look at some other stuff here. We did get a bounce off RSI, of course. It came down to 30. Pretty standard in most cases, minus this exception here. You will see 30 hold as a support level. In a sense, it did. That's a good sign, kind of implying that 39,000 should be the immediate bottom. Once again, no guarantees on that, but with this increased volume, the price coming back up, it does say that we are seeing a little bit more buying pressure, and that could be a good thing. But with all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market right now, we're not seeing a lot of buying from non-whales, so to speak. And that tells me that we could continue to see some downside here. So I just want you to be prepared and ready for it. The bottom could drop out. We lose 39,000, and we could definitely see 37.5 as the next immediate target. If we go past 37.5, we'll have to reevaluate, of course, and see what the next key level retracement lines are and kind of redraw out our Fibonacci retracement. But for the most part right now, still not in dire straits as long as 39,000 holds. Okay. All right, so that's kind of what we're looking at there in that sense. Not much else to really kind of look at on the 4-hour. We can double check here TD sequential. It's, again, I wouldn't say this is healthy, but it's not unhealthy, the ways in which we're seeing this continuation of this side. I mean, yes, we came down to a 9 previously, got a little reset, bounced up, came up to 41,600, got rejected. Came up here, and we can see this new line here being created right here at about 40,600 or 40,500. You can kind of use a round number there essentially, but generally speaking, there's an obvious line here where the price is unwilling to pass that point. Now, bear in mind, this was mostly Friday and Saturday behavior. Fridays and Saturdays, at least after market close and over the weekend when futures are starting to kind of disappear or not be used, then we can totally see this happen. So again, that's pretty much par for the course considering the low volume what we saw. But generally speaking, 40,500 is a pretty strong resistance for the moment that we need to kind of, I would say, anticipate being a point of contention here soon. But if the price were to come back up and break through that, we'd have a much better situation on our hands, okay? But right now, there's no doubt that this doesn't look fantastic, and we got to be realistic in the sense that we could lose this support level at 39 and start seeing some lower lows continuously. Once again, could is the key word here. I do not subscribe to the thought process of sub 24,000. I do think 24 would be the bottom if we were to come down there, but on the same accord, you got to be realistic in the sense that the overall value of Bitcoin has increased. The overall sentiment, the average true range of Bitcoin is getting better. So to see a price point that low would be uncommon or unlikely. But once again, you cannot rule that out completely, okay? Anything could happen in crypto. We've seen that happen time and time again. And unfortunately, we're just kind of pawns in this large grand scheme of things. So why not get on side, get on the same track with those guys? And that's why we look at this technical analysis, right? It's to make sure we understand what they're thinking and to try to get on the same page as them. And once we can do that, we can confidently become better traders, along with risk tolerance and a lot of other things, of course. Those are all things I teach in my trading academy, so check that out in your own time. Last thing I want to go ahead and double check, it would be TD sequential here on the 1 hour. And we don't really see anything that's noticeable. I mean, we get a bunch of resets. We're coming down to came down to a 7, got a reset up to a 5, down to a 4, up to a 5. There's really no consistency in any potential exhaustive states, which really is unfortunate here because we don't know when the bottom could drop out. And in that sense, that is not fantastic. But the one thing that I do want to celebrate slightly is the increase in volume here so far today. Obviously, it's Monday. That's pretty standard. But in the general sense there's a lot more buying occurring at the $39,000 price point. So that is essentially a positive. So again, there's those silver linings and everything, but there's no doubt that it doesn't look great right now for Bitcoin. Okay, so it's just, I want you to leave this conversation here if you're going to hear one thing. It's that Bitcoin is on a downtrend right now, and the likelihood of it bouncing back and recovering immediately is very low. we need some kind of catalyst to get us back on track. And I believe testing 39,000 continuously will cause that reaction to push back. We could and very well should see that, but once again, no guarantees. It's proven to be very choppy, inconsistent, and unfortunately difficult to get a read on. That being said, here's what's going on with Bitcoin in general. With the 1 hour, we are in the lagging span has intersected with the price action for the Ichimoku cloud. We're well below the cloud and conversion lines below the baseline. So these are all signs point to shorting a position, or more importantly, maintaining your short position. I'm not telling you should take a short right now, but you probably wouldn't be in the worst. It probably wouldn't be the worst call, if that makes any sense, based on the simple fact that it does feel like we're kind of on a razor's edge here, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens soon. So again, all signs point down at this point. There's a couple of constellations like I've mentioned, but generally speaking, we shouldn't expect a miracle at this point, and I would just say it's better to be safe than sorry. I would expect the price to continue to come down lower to possibly even 37.5. Okay. Now, once again, we haven't officially broken this trend line. The one-day candlestick hasn't closed yet, so we're not in a worst-case scenario yet. But it's not getting any better, and we keep having these false positives, so to speak, and some key resistances right around 40,500/41/42. So there's a tremendous amount of resistance just above the current price point. But once again, there's a hell of a lot of volume too at 37,000, or more specifically 38,700 right here on the price action, essentially creating that support. So again, for this year, the price has the most accumulation at about 38,900, or let's just say round number 39,000. So basically 39,000, that key level support is a strong volume support for the moment. Okay, just know if we were to lose that, there's not a lot of volume support below that. And if we were to scroll out to and kind of take a look at the last couple, just say year and a half, we still have a tremendous amount of volume in this area. Okay. In fact, the most amount of Bitcoin has been accumulated between 32 and 40,000. So that leads me to believe we shouldn't see anything under 30,000. Once again, that's just kind of my general immediate sentiment there in that sense. I don't think we're going to see the price just continue to shoot down. I think we'll probably see the price go sideways and channel here in the immediate future, probably somewhere between 37 and 42. Once again, we need the one-day candlestick to close. We need a handful of other things to happen before we can really speculate that far out. But for now, it's not trending the way that we want it to, but it hasn't broken that trend line officially yet with the one-day candlestick close. All right, so again, let's just go ahead and reevaluate tomorrow, kind of see what's going on. Between now and then, I would exercise caution. Be very cautious here in opening a long position. I think a short position might be more so on the cards if you were to consider just a general direction, because it does feel like the price wants to continue to go down and not necessarily go back up, at least in the immediate future. Definitely not a long-term thing. 37.5 is still a very important place. So if we stay above 37.5 and do not close above that, I'm going to feel confident in knowing that we are not essentially making lower lows, and that is a very important sign. Okay, because we haven't broken that trend yet. So just again, big picture, that's kind of what we're looking at here. Mostly good stuff, but not the greatest. All right. Again, I'm just more so a positive person, so I'm going to say that. But in general, just be realistic here. It doesn't look fantastic for Bitcoin, and we've definitely seen better days. We'll see here soon what this one-day candlestick close will give us, hoping for a close above 40,000, but that seems very unlikely right now. All right. Thanks again for watching. We'll look forward to seeing the next video. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Thanks again.